Good evening. My name is Steve Hernandez, and I am the Executive Director of the Legislature's Nonpartisan Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. We are here today to conduct one of a series of conversations on trafficking in the state of Connecticut, called Connecticut's Corridors of Corruption, trafficking and exploitation of our most vulnerable. We are honored today to be joined by advocates, people with lived experience, and also members of law enforcement who are at the front lines of addressing the difficult issue of human trafficking, both for body and for labor. We're honored today also to be joined by Representative Robin Porter, who is the chair of the Labor Committee in the Connecticut State Legislature, who is a champion on these issues. And last but certainly not least, I will now hand the baton over to Special Agent in Charge, Dave Sundberg, who will give us a little bit of the run of show, but also the background of law enforcement in this space for Connecticut, the region, and beyond. Welcome, Special Agent.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the introduction. As was said, my name is Dave Sundberg. I'm the Special Agent in Charge of the New Haven Division of the FBI. We cover all matters for the FBI in the state of Connecticut. Tonight, I think you're really going to get an interesting exposure to the world of human trafficking. It's a worldwide problem, something we focus on very heavily at the FBI, all across the country in every one of our divisions and with our international partners. We can break it down into labor trafficking, sex trafficking, and domestic servitude. And most importantly, it's important to recognize that it's happening in all of our communities. We struggle with this everywhere. It has a huge impact, even when we don't see it. So tonight, we have an opportunity to hear firsthand an account of someone who is caught up in the world of human trafficking. You'll also hear from a FBI victims advocate, Courtney Litowitz, and the conversation will be facilitated by Special Agent Wendy Bowersox, who's one of our experts on human trafficking. With that, I'd like to turn it over to them. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Special Agent Wendy Bowersox. I am off camera, so that is why you don't see me currently. I want to take the pleasure to introduce you to Shay. Shay and I have known each other for about 6 years now. Shay and I are very open and honest when we talk about how we met. We actually met when I arrested Shay on one of my cases. And though I did arrest Shay, I would argue that Shay is just as much a victim of trafficking and the world of prostitution as any other woman or man is. So Shay is going to tell her story tonight. She is going to talk about the world of sex trafficking. It's a dirty world, and that's why I love for Shay to come out and tell her story. So she will at times use foul language. She may at times use sex terminology. That is the nature of this world of sex trafficking. So with that, I will turn it over to Shay.
Hi, everybody. How are you? My name is Shay. Usually when I do these speeches, I start with a letter I wrote to myself to give you guys, if you can see it. Sorry. So, to give you guys a little bit of what kind of life I lived to cause me to wind up in that kind of lifestyle. So here I go. It's to my dear friend Abuse. You came into my life unexpectedly, too early in my life for me to understand who you really were. You hurt like hell, but at 6 years old, I thought you were love, normal to feel. You were around when I felt I had no one, so I accepted you with open arms, no matter what you put me through. When I was 12, you hurt me 3 times in a row by using 3 strangers. I felt different about this time because this time I didn't feel loved at all, just ashamed and hopeless. At that time, you were in my mind constantly. All I could think about and dream about was you. And every time I tried not to, my thoughts of you became more realistic. No one around me seemed to care, notice the change in me. I felt alone and scared. So when I was 14, I ran away from my family to someone I thought would never hurt me. He listened, showed me new things, and for a while, I didn't think about you. Until one day, you just appeared again, punch after kick. I sat wondering in pain, where did you come from? And at that point, I realized you came in more than one form. Because beyond your painful form, I felt you physically. Just words I was hearing had me emotionally hurt now. You were everywhere. I couldn't escape you. So I felt at the time I had to embrace you because you weren't going anywhere. So I learned to love you again. And when I felt you while in labor at 16 with my son, and felt how you helped me bring something so beautiful into this world, I just knew you couldn't be all bad. So I sat around and felt you and thought about you even more. Until one day I felt and thought that I was gonna die. So when you got arrested, excuse my glasses. Ooh. So when you got arrested, I took that time to run for my life, never to see or hear from you again. But how wrong was I? I ran right into another man. Give me 1 second, guys, sorry. No, I got it. Felt strong. Sorry. I thought he was my Superman, but just like before, you came out of nowhere. But this time, you constantly kept my eyes closed, swollen beyond repair. For weeks, it took me weeks to get rid of your marks and bruises, but I loved you somehow and felt you were there for my best interest. You loved me too much to let me go. So you continued to put fear in my mind, body, and soul. Until one day, yet again, I felt you would kill me, so I had to run away from you. But though I didn't feel you for a while, you were stuck in my mind and led me to a path I thought I would never walk. At this point in my life, you were my every thought. I couldn't do anything without you. You invaded me. I tried just about everything: weed, liquor, ecstasy, Molly, cocaine. Nothing worked permanently, but as long as I was high or drunk, I didn't think about you. I didn't feel you. I guess I got to a point where if it didn't kill me, it made me stronger. But then I started prostituting myself and adding 2 more addictions: sex and money. So now weed, liquor, Molly, ecstasy, cocaine, sex and money took your place in my life. But oddly, I began to miss your hurt and pain, your love. So this time, instead of you looking for me, I went looking for you. And boy, did I find you, so perfectly groomed, soft-spoken, helpful, and dangerous. And I loved every minute of you. You handled me when I needed to be handled. You helped me when I was beyond repair. You made me feel beautiful again and loved, wanted, because this time I knew what to expect. I knew what came with you. You changed my life for the better and for the worse. But you were there even when I felt nobody else. You were there even when I felt nobody else cared. Even when you couldn't stand me, you were there. And again, I felt you giving birth when I had my second child. I thought, if you didn't truly love me, how could you help me bring another angel into this world? But honestly, it was this time that I realized the feelings of real love, no pain at all. My son and my daughter, always happy, always making me smile and wanting nothing in return, but just me, the real me, not to hurt me. Not to hurt me. I've come to a time in my life where I realized that you never really loved me. You just loved the way you could control me. And I'm not standing for it anymore. I don't need you anymore, and I deserve better. So I'm washing my hands of you and taking my life back. And I'm not coming back to you ever again. And I'm not allowing you back into mine. So thank you for all the years of hurt and pain and being there for me when I felt no one else was. But now I must strongly and truly say goodbye forever. I never want to see, feel, or hear you again. And now that I know that I can stop you, I promise you with all my heart, and so I will, and I'm done. P.S. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. So, I put my pain away with that, but I was a prostitute for 7-8 years. My daughter, I had my daughter by my pimp. I'm still, even though I've been out the game for going on 6 years, I'm still struggling with a lot of mental stuff that comes with being in that mind state, and you know, getting so used to being people and not even knowing yourself. You make up so many different people. Like I was Zori one month, I was Miss Rain. Like that's a life of pure fantasy and pain. That's a life where you could become anybody or make up anybody you want to be. But like I said, different stages to pimps out there. You have players, you have gorillas. Like players are the type of pimps that got all of his girls thinking that they're his number one. And whoever brings him home, whoever brings him the most money, that's who gets his attention at the time. Then you have the gorilla pimps. Those are the guys that are very physical, that will, if they can't have you, nobody can. And they put that fear of God into you. I've watched pimps run girls over with cars. I've watched pimps outside beat girls with pipes. You know, like it's dangerous for us because we have this man that, you know, when we first meet him, he tells me, you know, tell me what you want. And then you tell him what you want. And then it's like, he takes it all from you. And then to have to go out into the streets and have to deal with tricks, different kind of strangers, and you don't know if that car you get, like, it's different now because when I was into it, we had Backpage. It was a little more safer for girls out here because we could be in a hotel room where it was cameras, whether, you know, they showed the cops or whatever. But now, now my pimp had me doing hotels and I was walking the streets. So, and it's more dangerous because on top of you having to walk the streets, that's where all the pimps are. And like you're, as a prostitute, you're not allowed to walk on the sidewalks. You're only allowed to walk on the street. Technically, you're only supposed to walk on the yellow, you're only supposed to walk on the yellow line. What makes it a more dangerous situation is because the pimps are on the sidewalks and they have something called out of pocket, where if you have a pimp and you just so happen to be, just say I'm in the street and it's a pimp right here. If you're this close to that pimp is allowed, this is a rule of the game, that pimp is allowed to take you, whatever money you have on you, call your pimp and tell your pimp that I look like, we're not allowed to look at nothing but their shoes. We're never supposed to know what another pimp looks like. So so technically when that happens, the pimp is allowed to beat you up for being out of pocket, take all your money, then call your pimp and tell your pimp your bitch is out of pocket, and he's allowed to put a fee on you. Now, if that pimp say, I want $3,000 for your bitch just looking at me or just being this close to me, your pimp can decide whether he wants to pay that man or you have to stay with that other pimp until you pay that debt. So what else comes with that is, if you make a man $3,000 in a day, he's not giving you back. So now he puts you back out on the street, and now your old pimp that, you know, should have been there to protect you, that told you like, no, go make that man's money and come back home. Now he's harassing you because now technically you belong to the man that you owe the debt to. So on top of you having to deal with that situation, you got to deal with the tricks not wanting to pay you. The tricks, I've been kidnapped, I've been thrown in trunks, I've been beat, I got gun butted. I've been had men, you know, pay me, do what we do, and rob me, beat me bloody, and take the money back, and my pimp is not there. So, you know, I was one of them bitches that got him out. So, you know, I used to feel like by the time I call you, everything is done. So like, what the fuck am I paying you for? Like, why? Like, I don't feel protected. And just having that kind of mouth gets you beat up constantly. I stayed getting beat up because I used to just feel like I'm doing this, but I'm gonna stand up for my fucking rights. And you know, some girls can't deal with that. And I've lost a lot of friends having mouth to a man that felt like he owned you, that like you're his property.
Shay, how old were you when you first got into the life?
I was 18.
18?
18, 19.
Can you sort of describe for everyone how that process went, how you first got into that life?
When I first started this, it wasn't even, honestly, a lot of people look for the pimp and it don't even be a pimp. It be his girls. He'll send his girls out to recruit you. So I was working for Bloomingdale's when I was working for Bloomingdale's, and I had a couple of friends that was already in the streets, and some of them had pimps, some of them didn't. Now you have the girls that have pimps, they're considered hoes, and their pimp is considered their folks or their daddy. And then you have other girls that don't have pimps, and they're considered renegades, faggots. That's what they call them. And people like, well, us now, I can consider myself regular. Like they call us squares. So I was actually dealing with one of my friends, and she's like, you out here having sex and doing all of this, and all niggas want is pussy from you at the end of the day. So you might as well just fuck these niggas, get money, and you be all right. So when I first started, all I wanted was a house, an apartment, a car, and to do my music, like start a studio or get my music going. And I was stuck for 8 years, stuck, couldn't go nowhere. Even if you tried to run away, I was getting beat up. I was getting like, oh my God, I was like my body right now, like not doing it for so long, like my body is hurt. Like I'm hurting in places, like me being outside in the cold for 7 years. Like I'm feeling stuff now, like that I want to be warm, and like I'm dealing with hot and cold flashes and certain things, and my body's so used to getting beat up and bruised up. Like now it's like the healing process is horrible because I'm used to being hurt. Like I'm used to the pain. I'm used to mentally, physically, it's horrible. It's horrible. And I tell my story because I know there's so many girls out there that just see the glamour in it, and it's a lot to pay to be beautiful, because you'll meet a girl and you'll think, oh, she got red bottoms and she got fur, and these motherfuckers is taking us to rainbows. You making $12, $13, $3,000, and they're not even taking you shopping where the fuck you think you're gonna be shopping. They got you in rainbows, they got you in Payless, and they got you in shoes and lingerie. Like, so a lot of girls don't realize, like, you get into this game thinking you're gonna live this big ball, and like, no, please do not listen to these music videos. Please don't listen to these music videos. It's nothing like that. You're never gonna find a hoe standing on the corner. No. You're never gonna find it. You'll find prostitutes in dead ends, blocks where it's a lot of truck drivers, where they'll park their cars. Like every track, the only track that I've ever been on that seemed to be like regular was Washington, DC. And I would think I was between Avenue K, or like, cause they got avenues like that out there. And we were just walking around. It's just in that one area, we walking around, and it's like regular buildings and regular restaurants. But in the Bronx, it looked like dead ends. Everywhere you go is the blocks are dark. You don't never know what you don't know what you're walking into. And my pimp used to have us outside from probably about 10 o'clock at night to probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. And that depends on what you made. If you only made about 200-300, you probably be out there until you make his quota. So every night, a pimp gives every female on his camp, listen, I want $3,000, or you can't get no sleep. You can't eat nothing. You can't go home. So now you got these girls out here robbing guys, like doing just dangerous shit to just be able to sleep. I remember me being up then the drugs. They enable us too, because like, well, I used to take a gram of Molly and fucking be up for like 2 weeks straight. And then by the time I could hit a bed, you still can't sleep because you got that's at the time we had Encores. I don't know if that's still going on now, but I'll probably be in the street. But by the time I get home, if we will sit and make a post, and that post comes through the phone. So like we're not allowed to let that phone ring because we tired and we've been up for 4 or 5 days. That phone ring, you gotta be like my sleeping schedule was fucked up. Like it's like you could as soon as you pass out, you hear that phone. You have to jump up and answer that phone. Because if you miss that money, to your pimp eyes, you just gave that shit to the next bitch. So sleep, that is totally out the window. That's why drugs play a major role in this lifestyle. And they have so many drugs that keep you up and keep you motivated, like this new Molly and weed. We don't really, that mixed with, I don't know, I used to just mix it all. If it was Molly, I had cocaine and I had weed and then I had liquor. And then maybe I might be with another girl and we'll stay and motivate each other and keep each other up. But
Shay, you mentioned that an in call would come in. Can you describe for everybody the difference between an in call and an out call?
okay, so an in call. When you even answering the phone is different. Like you get a phone call, you go, hi, how are you? And they go, hi, how are you? And you go, personally, I used to be like, how long are you looking to hang out? Because I felt like that was protecting me from, if it was a cop on the phone, you know, and the date did come, that when I first met Wendy, I'm like, listen, I asked how long you looking to hang out. I don't know, I don't sell no pussy. Like, so when I first met her, like, I'm like, she's like, no, we know. And I'm like, no, you don't know nothing. Like, I told you, like, I asked how long you wanted to hang out. I didn't ask, you know, but you know, you asked that. And even when the date comes to the door, there's certain things that you have to do. You're not supposed to just let them in your room. Like you go and hug them and you go and fill on their penis. And a lot of cops will jump back. Like they won't let you touch on them. And it's either you got to be quicker than that and close the door, or you got, you know, if it gets to that point and there is a cop at the door, you go to give him a hug or you go to search right here to see if they badge is right here. Oh, hi, how you doing? And go to touch his penis and he jump back. You got that time to close the door. And you know, that motherfucker could just bang on that shit. Like, you know, it's all a survival thing. Now, out call, like I said, in call mostly the female is in control of the situation. 50-50, because even if the guy comes to you, you don't know what he's carrying that could be a danger to you. Like I said, I've been in situations where a guy has came and paid me, and when we were done, he beat me up and he took the money back, or he put a knife to my throat and took the money back. And then the out calls is even is more dangerous, because now you're in their safe zone. Now you're going to this man's house, or you're going to this man's hotel room. Mostly a lot of girls will feel more comfortable going to a hotel room because they feel like it's cameras there, you know. But going into a man's house, like I've been through some shit with that, where a man wouldn't want to let me leave, or, you know, or he'll think like you're like his personal sex slave now, like, you know. And then you know, you have them guys that's like that too, that'll come and be like, you're so much better than this, I could take care of you, and they'll give you the $5,000. They'll give you the $10,000. And, you know, you might feel like, okay, maybe, you know, he's been so nice to me for a month. Maybe, you know, maybe he does want better from me. And those be like the worst tricks. Those be the guys that you run away from your pimp and you go be with them, and they turn around and now you their personal sex slave. You just fucking all day, and, you know, as soon as you think to start acting like they girlfriend, and then they throw that in your fucking face, you a fucking whore, bitch, I saved you. Like, you know, and it makes you run right back to what you comfortable with, the person you know that's what the fuck, like, listen, bye. What else? I was just thinking of it and it just jumped out of my head.
Shay, over the course of your time in the life, how many pimps did you have?
2.
Okay, can you describe your interaction with your first pimp and then your interaction with your second pimp?
Okay, my first pimp was a punk to me. I felt like I didn't even know really what the hell a pimp was, but it was like, he taught me the difference between boyfriend and gorilla. Like, he was my first pimp was the type of man that would just flirt with everybody and fuck everybody and make all of us feel like, yo, we're the number one, and have us more in competition with each other. Like, bitch, I made more money than you, I'm spending the time with him today. Or bitch, out of that road, and you'll have 2 girls that'll work together, because in that game is like that. Sometimes you'll be by yourself, and sometimes he'll have you with another girl and y'all be out there doing 2-girl specials. Like y'all having sex with each other, y'all having sex with the pimp, with the tricks. And that's dangerous because you don't know what that girl is out there doing when she's by herself. So she could be out there getting out raw head and fucking these tricks raw, and then she's not telling nobody. And then now you're stuck with her for a day or two, and you're eating her pussy, and you're putting yourself at risk. So that's where a lot of diseases come with too, because you got some girls that really have put themselves on the line to make their quota for this pimp. And now, if that man say, listen, if you don't make $5,000, you can't come in. And every date that girl bumps into that night want raw. 9 times out of 10, that girl is gonna start doing that raw to make that money. And the drugs is just like, fuck it. I don't know, me, I don't play that shit. I didn't play that shit. I don't like playing Russian roulette except at the casino. So, I really forced wearing condoms, and I always had wipes, and I don't know, I was just a different hoe. Like I felt like that's what I was doing, but I felt like I was holding a little bit of my dignity by just keeping certain things, making sure I was safe. I had a son at the time. And then, to turn around and when I got pregnant with my daughter, I had my daughter with my pimp, and I was still prostituting until I gave birth. Like in his mind, it wasn't nobody else's responsibility to make sure that my baby, when I had her, that she had diapers, she had everything that she needed. I was still out there walking the streets with a big belly. I was still getting beat up, a lot of shit. Like I remember a time when I tried to leave him, and I ran to my mom's house, and he found out I was at my mom's house, and he dragged me outside. He ripped all, like, I'm like, here, take your phone, take your money, and he ripped everything, left me naked, had me naked in the middle of my mother's projects, like take the nails off, take the wig, rip my shirt, all of that. And even me standing there naked, and I'm like, listen, you took everything. He punched me in my face, picked me up, threw me over his shoulder, and threw me in the back of the car, and still brought me back to Bridgeport. So like humiliation, like I've been through that. Like even trying to leave him, that was the hardest thing. When I finally decided to leave him, I think he got arrested, and I was able to run to Atlanta to a friend. And my friend was like, he seen my face. He's like, oh my God, like, oh, come to Atlanta. And it was more fucked up because I got out there and he helped me heal. I didn't know the cops was even looking for me, but he helped me heal. And then he turned around and he was like, oh, you've been giving your money to these bum ass niggas. You might as well come fuck with me. And it's like, damn, like even somebody that you felt like really gave a fuck about you, like that met you before this, that could say, how dare you say, oh, come, I'll help you. Like, look at your face and help me heal. And then turn around and be like, yo, you might as well come fuck with me. You could trust me with your money. So you trying to pimp me too. So it's like this game, it brings a lot. Like you don't know who to trust. And then especially when everybody knows that this is what you did, like everybody's looking from, like, even now I'm out of this game, it's going on 6 years. Everybody still look at me like I make money like that. Like nobody believes I have a broke moment. Nobody believes that I don't have it. Or a lot of people don't fuck with me because they know I don't have it no more. So, it's a very brutal world. Like even when it comes to the balls, like they even have a ball for the best pimp of the year. And it's a very discreet, like you have to have an invitation to even know where the fuck is the location is to that. And mind you, in that scenario, the girls are looking at the floor the whole time. Like we're not allowed to look at, we're not supposed to know. If a pimp asks you what that pimp look like, or the only thing you supposed to be able to tell that man is what that man's shoes look like. You know what kind of shirt he had on, you know what kind of hat, that's getting you fucked up. That's getting you beat up. Because in their world, that's disrespectful. Only man you supposed to know, you're not even supposed to be fucking so many different men. You ain't even supposed to know what a fucking trick look like. And like it gets to a point where you just become numb. Like I'm not sexually active. Like I've done that shit. Like I don't get, I'm 30 and I don't get urges, and I don't nothing. Like between the drugs and doing that every fucking night for 7 years, like I feel damaged. I feel damaged. Like, you know, like even I was just telling Wendy on the drive here, I said, like, I don't even know how to be vulnerable to my own kids. Like, I feel like if I cry in front of my kids, they're gonna take it as a weakness and use it against me. Like, and you feel me? And I'm awesome with them, you know. But when it comes to me and trying to change my mental and my physical, when it comes to not dealing with that no more, it's a lot. So I've done this speech a lot of times, and I tell a lot of people, like, if this is not something you're ready to take home at night, just don't bother. Like, don't waste your time. Because the worst thing you could do to a girl that's in these streets is make a promise you can't keep.
That's right.
Or be inconsiderate. Like, don't tell her you're gonna do something and don't give her enough common courtesy to say, listen, I can't make it today. You know, like stuff like it be the littlest stuff that'll help her get so much further than you promising her the world. You know how many people promise me the world, and I'm over here trying to make it I'm trying to get it on my own. Don't think for 1 second because I'm not in a life, I don't have the moments where a bill comes and I go, damn, I could just go right outside and make that. That's something I had to grow within myself. Like, you're better than that. God is gonna find a way. I found another person, a higher power that showed me, listen, where there's a will, there's a way. Just sit still, I got you. And real shit, this pandemic made me and his relationship, I want to cry because like this pandemic has made me and his relationship so much stronger, and it really made me a believer because I lost my job. And like, I felt like as soon as I was getting everything, I got my apartment, I got a good job, everything was going so good for me, this pandemic hit. And I'm over here like, what the fuck am I gonna do? You know, and Anne Marie, I love you, yo. You have no idea. I love this lady. I love this lady. Yo, God, you know, he's like, sit still. Like you know, you went to jail, you came home, you got a job, you went back to school. I felt like he seen all the effort that I put in from coming out of this situation. And in this pandemic, he was just telling me, yo, just sit still, I got you. And it made me a believer. He got me. Like, my bills was getting paid, like food, people were bringing food. Like, it was just stuff that I was just like, I really learned that, you know, I had to chill over stuff I had no control over. You know, so I bust my ass to get this to people and try to save these girls, because this battle is like a drug addict. On top of you being a drug addict, this is a whole nother disease that you're gonna fight that's never gonna go away unless you really want it. And man, Anne Marie, I fucking love you. My kids love you, man. Like, you helped us so much. You helped us so much.
We love you too, Shay. We love you too.
You know it's a battle, but you know you gotta meet these girls and, you know, let them know, you know, everything is not gonna be okay, because it's not. You're not alone. You know, I'm willing to take this step with you. Not all the steps, don't even tell them that. I'm willing to take every step with you. I'm willing to take this step with you. You're not alone. It's not gonna be okay, but we're gonna make, where there's a will, there's a way. Oh God. All vulnerable and stuff. You see, I can't even do this in front of my kids. It's just talking about this. It's such a burden and a blessing and a curse. It's so much at the same time. And you know, I've came a long way from the lost soul, the lost hurt girl I used to be, looking for stuff that I didn't need to be finding. You know, and you know, I didn't have my kids for a while, and I got them back, and you know, they're in the honor roll now. I didn't even know I could be a good teacher. I'm glad I passed first grade and 8th grade, because now I'm an awesome teacher at home. I'm a lunch lady. I'm a principal. You know, like, God that gave me other stuff. God that gave me other stuff, you know, to keep me busy and keep me motivated and give me, you know, extra stuff on my resume. So if anybody have any questions, I'm sorry. Y'all always get me emotional. I try not to cry, always at the end.
Shay, let's talk a little bit about, let's talk for a minute about the second pimp.
Yes, that's what I had my daughter by. He was a piece
So
of
how
work.
long were you
He
with,
was a gorilla.
okay. And the gorilla, somebody that was violent?
Yes,
mean?
that's the way he solved how he felt. He got better results, was being abusive, like, and it kind of worked for him, because like real shit, like we'll turn around and he'll turn around and give you a black eye, and you'll go out there and walk the streets, and a trick will really be like, listen, they'll feel bad for you and give you more money because you're bruised up than you actually being beautiful. So
Can you talk a little bit about sort of how it is that you came to know?
Sincere, aka, because he didn't look like one. And I thought I was I basically made him my pimp without me even knowing I was making him my pimp. Like, he came, he sat next to me, and I did some man shit, like, can I buy you a drink? Like, ladies don't do that. So and he sat next to me, and we actually was talking. I actually turned to him, I'm like, oh no, put your money away, let me buy you a drink. And just that little initiation right there screwed my life. It went from that to me thinking I was, chilling with him at the hotel room. And as soon as we got in that room, it was like, I'm a pimp. Give me what you got. And I had 15,000 at that time. So he took all of it. And from that moment on, I was really like mostly in the Bronx and Yonkers. He the one took me to DC and Maryland, like a lot of places. Like we was like, before we had a car, we was on the Greyhound, bouncing from state to state. And then finally he moved me to I wound up not having morning sicknesses and stuff when I was pregnant with my daughter. So when I was having my period. So when I finally didn't have my period, I was like, nigga, give me the loot. I'm going to the abortion clinic. I think I'm pregnant. And when I got there, you got the people out there like, no, don't kill the baby, you're going to hell. And I was like, I'm going, and this is whatever the fuck is in here, gotta go. And gave the people my money. And when I sat there, that lady told me she couldn't help me. And I said, what the fuck you mean you can't help me? You took my money. And that lady said, you 5 months pregnant. So my daughter, that's why I named her Faith, because if it wasn't for that, she probably wouldn't be here. Because I was not trying to bring another kid into this world in that situation with that man. Like, and to deal with a man that that's the only man I'm fucking raw. And what I do in these streets, and he's sitting there like, that's not my fucking baby. And I'm still out there fucking niggas and having, like, literally, I literally prostituted myself until my water broke when it came to my daughter. And to come out and she looked just like him.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
But when she was born, like, he just was stuck. Like, yeah, she don't look like she boy-headed like the other side of the family and everything. One thing I could say though, like, he didn't treat her any type of way. He treated me some type of way. So I don't know. When I found out, I was like, he trapped me. I felt like he was getting all the symptoms and didn't tell me, how the hell I got my period. I have a kid, and I went through normal stuff when I had my son, and I didn't go through that with my daughter. And it honestly, it pushed him to go even harder on me, because now I have a kid, and now the kid is his, and I get the money. I'm the hoe. I got to make the money. So now I got to get work and make sure she had the best life that he couldn't provide for her. So, like, that, I probably didn't even, the doctor tell you wait 6 weeks after you give birth. No, probably like a month. He put me back in the street. He was taking baby wipes and having me stuff my vagina. They got stuff like that. Like, we don't get periods. Let me tell you that too. Like, prostitutes, we don't have periods. They have stuff like the makeup with the makeup things, the sponges. The pimp, I have the girl stuff that in there to stop the blood, or they'll have you bring out baby wipes and have you stuff yourself with that and have you use lube. So yeah, even when you're on your period, you're working. There's no vacation because you're on your period. They'll have you stuff your vagina with that, wipes. With him, it was such a roller coaster ride, because at the end of the day, one day he could be the nicest person you ever meet on the planet, and then he'll just turn like, you could be just sitting here having soup, and it's something that happened last week, he punching you in your face for, like, or he get angry at one bitch and the whole house is going down, like, and it's like, damn, I didn't even do nothing this week. Like, I did everything right. And it was like a control thing to teach everybody a lesson. If this one felt like she could get away with it, every one of y'all gonna think y'all can get away with it. So I'm gonna beat her ass, I'm beating all of y'all ass. So now we all outside looking like we just came from like we all just got jumped. I remember the first time I went to the hospital, he fractured my ribs. And I couldn't even tell the doctor that, you know, I had a pimp and he was beating me up. I told the hospital that I got jumped and the girl was hitting me with the belt buckle. You know, she didn't believe me, but I couldn't tell her, oh, I have a pimp, because he had another girl there with me to watch what I say. And, you know, well, that's all I needed was for her to hear me say the wrong thing to the doctor and go back and tell him. I probably would have been. And I'm telling you, when I say I couldn't even hold my daughter, like me breathing, it hurt like hell. I couldn't even hold my daughter. And, you know, what made me decide to leave was—
Denise, you wanted to listen to.
Hello? Oh, sorry. I couldn't even hold my daughter. And one night he left me in the house and he went out with the other girls. And, you know, I called him and I was like, listen, I'm in so much, he didn't leave me with no painkillers, no money, nothing. And I'm sitting there in so much pain with my daughter sitting there crying. And I called him and I'm like, can you bring me back? When you come in, can you bring me some painkillers? And he told me yes. And when I say 7 o'clock hit, this was must have been one of the days that the girls didn't make the money on time. And 7 o'clock hit, 8 o'clock hit. Now, when I say about 12 o'clock and I'm calling him and it got to the point where he wasn't even answering the phone. And something just told me, yo, get the fuck up and get out of here. Like, get the fuck up. So I grabbed my daughter and I'm walking to the train station I used to live on. I'm sitting there like, yo, how the fuck am I gonna get on this train? And I just so happened, when I got to the train station, I just so happened to look in my bag and it was a fucking Metro North ticket there. So I was like, oh God, thank you. And but push the shove, it was a lot of times that he used my daughter as an excuse for me to come back. Like, he didn't know where I was at. That's what led to another situation of him popping up at my mother's house. I want to see my daughter, and, you know, and it was like, it's like no getting away from this man. Like, it was just no getting away from him. Even the day that I met Wendy, like, this idiot, oh my God. Mm-hmm. Like, me and another girl got called to the hotel to do a 2-girl. And basically how it goes is when you doing an out call, you text the pimp good when you get there. Then you text him how long the date is. And once you're done, you text him how long the date is, how much was the date. And then when you're done, you text him done. So me and the girl never got a chance to text him good or nothing. So he's like, keeps calling my phone. And she's like, you got a pimp? And I'm like, they exist. Like, I was really like airheaded to the situation. I was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I make my own money. I'm doing nice. I get it. And this dumb idiot comes with the brightest shit you can find in your closet. And he's driving right now. We have him driving an S550 Mercedes Benz. He's wearing the brightest shit you could fucking have on, and he's blasting music, and who just rides right by the hotel. So there he goes right there. I don't know. I don't even see who you were talking about. Like, everybody named Mother could have seen him. Some way he got away from them. And me and the girl is left walking. Like, we didn't want to go back to the house.
Yeah.
We didn't want to go back to the house. So we literally walking around until he calls and tells us, listen, meet me here. And he made us meet him way, I think we on Stratford Ave. We had to meet him way on Main Street. That's like crossing. Oh, I was like, oh my God. I don't know. It was a lot. But when he used to really think, like, put fear. As long as we feared him, it was nothing else we were supposed to be scared of. Like, shit wasn't supposed to happen as long as we were scared of him. When shit happened with him and
Other girls along the way did he have working?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I lost count. It was a lot. Different races, It wasn't just black girls. He had white, Chinese, Spanish. It was a lot. African, like it was a lot of us.
Yeah.
But like the one thing he never used to keep us together though. He'll send two of us to DC in two different hotels. He'll send one to Jersey. He'll have a few walking the track, and we'll still have to walk the track wherever we was at. But a lot of pimps, they try not to keep the girls together.
Yeah.
Because they feel like that puts them in a vulnerable position to lose they bitches. If I put two of these bitches together and they get bold, now I done lost two bitches instead of one. If I keep these bitches apart and then one bitch, the bitch is by herself and she get bold, I lost that one bitch. But if I put more than one bitch together and they get bold, I lost money. So a lot of times they kept us separate. You know, the only time we would mostly see each other is when we was walking the streets. And we barely could even speak because we supposed to be in and out of cars. Or trying to take another bitch from another pimp, or try to tell another girl, listen, if you knew better, you do better. Come in my situation is better. None of our situations is better. None of our situations is better. We all doing the same shit, going through the same shit, wanting more, and don't never know. It just never seemed like it's gonna happen. Like, yeah, we eat Chinese food and we eat good, but like it never, like I spent 8 years and don't have shit to show for it. So all the dick I sucked, all the niggas I fucked, I don't have nothing to show for 8 years of being a prostitute. When I walked away from that, I had nothing. The clothes on my back. Well, the dress on my back, because that like I had nothing. I didn't even have a game that I bought, nothing, not a pair of shoes, nothing. And a pimp is like that too. Like when you leave with nothing. You're not allowed to take the clothes he bought you when you was dealing with him. You got to walk away with nothing. The clothes on your back, and if you're lucky, he don't send you away naked. You don't get no money, nothing. You walk away with nothing. You walk away either with nothing or you don't walk away at all. He wound up killing you from choking you too hard or beating you and you just dead, and now he just burying you somewhere or just leaving you on the side of the road somewhere. Like I'm blessed and lucky to be able to be here today to even speak to y'all, because I lost a lot of friends because they was tired of it, and they pimp just wouldn't let them go. They killed them, or a trick killed them because he was obsessed and he loved her, and she wouldn't be with him, and he was jealous that she was sleeping with all these other men out here. And it's hard. It's a hard road.
Shay, a lot of what we're seeing nowadays is, especially with some of the minor girls that are involved in the life, a lot of what we're seeing is these girls that believe that these guys are their boyfriends, right? And they
call
love
them boyfriend
them,
pimps,
right? And they love them and they want to do everything for them. But it's an interesting dynamic where the pimp may have 3, 4, 5 girls, and they all love him and they all view him as his boyfriend, and yet somehow he gets them to sort of coexist. Can you sort of explain that dynamic?
All right, basically, well, to my acknowledgement, this was the conclusion I came to myself, and I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of these women that are in the life think like this. We look at we look at a whole in a pimp situation like an open relationship. Instead of being a woman that being a square woman that has a man and he's sleeping with 5, 6 females that you don't know about. And then you find out, or you probably get AIDS or whatever. And when it comes to a hoe and a pimp and us being okay with having 5, 6 girls around, knowing he's having sex and we're all having sex with each other, is like, I know what you're doing. I know you're getting money just like I'm getting money. It's just like, it's an open relationship. It's like, I know what these bitches is doing. I know they getting beat up like me too. I know he got them in a hotel like me too. It ain't me not knowing that I'm cooking and I'm cleaning for this man. And he out here fucking all of these dirty bitches and they got nothing. They can't cook, they can't clean, they can't offer him nothing. He just out there having sex with them. So for a pimp and a hoe, that's basically how they're like, I was telling them, it's a movie called, what I was telling y'all? With Snoop Dogg.
I don't remember.
I'll give you 1 second. It's a movie out there where it's a movie with Snoop Dogg where it shows how he, how he became a pimp. He started off as a fucking guy that was fucking pushing shopping carts in the supermarket. And it took one girl to come and make him feel like we could be rich and bossing up. And in her mind, that was her man. And they was going to finish this. And more girls start accumulating. And then now you get jealousy. And then you showing her too much time and da. But real shit and the pimping the whole life is like an open relationship. I guess I was okay with knowing he had 5, 6, 7 bitches because I know that they was out there doing the same thing I was doing. I had to respect that bitch made more money than me today. And that's why he's showing her attention. That's why she getting to ride in the front seat, or she even get to be in a hotel room with him by herself. Like we accept that, okay, I know. It's better than not knowing that what the fuck is he doing with we seen a lot of that growing up with our parents and aunties and shit, and they have husbands and girlfriends and this and the uncles and cousins, they out there just sleeping with girls. And that's the question you always like, why? What is she doing for you? So I guess the pimps got that, but it's like, well, you know what the bitch doing for me, you know what the bitch not doing for me. So it's more like an open relationship when it comes. That's why they're so accepting of it. And like I said, what's going on right now is a lot of girls that been in situations with pimps, real pimps, and they decided to like build my own pimp. So when you meet a guy and you tell him, I make money, you don't have to give him all the details that goes with the game. It's not until you decide to bring him around a real pimp where he'll learn about certain shit that you didn't tell him, because she's still a lot of these boyfriend pimps out here is like she's in control of the situation. She can still be able to have a regular life with him and he's okay with her making money, because nowadays they feel like thotting is okay. Like it's okay to be out here just fucking and living your best life. So it's like she has control over the situation. Like and like I said, the moment they go on that track, or the moment that she has a date and he's not hiding in the closet or under the bed, and he's outside and he meet another man that's out there really doing this, that been doing this. And like, what you doing here? Oh, now, the girl taught him to teach him, oh, my bitch, or but it's going to be certain shit that man say that ain't going to make no sense to that pimp. And that pimp is going to put him on. And now that's when the situation switch, because now that nigga going to start beating and doing shit to that girl. And she's like, why are you doing, Milo? Why you acting different? And it's like, bitch, you got me out here looking stupid now. So for right now, they've always been around. They just probably more, there's more of them now. But there's always been boyfriend pimps where they say the hoe made him a pimp. He didn't meet a girl and turn her out. The girl met him and turned him out. So that's what's probably going on right now. Okay. I'm not really in the loop, like,
Yeah.
So.
So probably one more thing to sort of really hit home the concept that these pimps are really selling girls and women and boys and whoever it is that they're trafficking. They're really selling them dreams that they never mean to follow through with and never come to fruition. Can you talk about your experiences with what he told you, where you thought you were going, and then what you found out when you got out of jail and you were trying to sort of rebuild your life, about the realities of
on it was an apartment, a car, and to do my music. And he was like, we could do that and such and such. And we wound up getting, that's when reality really hit for me, because he took my social, that a lot of them, they take out socials, they take out IDs. The only time we really get our IDs is when we going into a hotel to get a room, because they're never gonna have their name on the hotels. They're never gonna put their name on nothing. So without me knowing, he got an apartment with my name, lights, gas, all of this shit with my name. So when I came home from jail and I got my first apartment, I'm so used to living in hotels, I went into the apartment and I went to turn on the light. and it wasn't no light. So I called the landlord, like, the light is not working. And he's like, well, did you call the light people? I'm like, there's light people? Like, I was so naive to the real world. Like, I'm like, you gotta call the light people. Like, and when I called the light people, no, I turned around and thought I could turn on the stove. I'm like, okay, maybe I can turn on the stove. And my landlord like, no, you gotta call the light and gas people. I'm like, it's two different people for this shit. Like, so he gave me the number for UI and some the gas company, and I called, and the lady, oh my God, like this nigga never paid a bill. Like he never paid a bill. Like he left me in so much debt. Like the lady was like, oh, well, you owe 3,000. No, 3 what? You know how much dick I suck? Like I should owe nobody shit. Like, and I wound up having to do a payment arrangement with them. And then, okay, I get off the light people. I'm like 3,000. So I write that down. And then I call the gas people, and they're just, oh, you know, you got to go on a payment arrangement because you owe 2,900. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, then I'm like, okay, I get that. I get the payment arrangement. I'm working. I'm just like, yo, all the money I gave that man, like, you didn't pay no bills. Like, then I turned around and said, okay, let me get some cable. Find out he gave my social to somebody in New Hampshire. So they like, oh no, you owe $200 and something. And I didn't need all the dick I sucked. I've never sucked nobody dick in New Hampshire. So I'm just like, how the hell does somebody in New Hampshire get my fucking social? So like, it got to the point where I had to just get internet. Like I got right now to help with my budget. I'm like on Xfinity, they have a prepaid plan. So I got that and Wi-Fi. But then I'm like, yo, like dead ass. He couldn't pay for my lawyer. He couldn't do shit for me when we went to jail. And then on top of that, I came home and I owe everybody. And I didn't even know these people fucking existed. I didn't even know that there was no gas or light or none of that. I'm so busy going to hotel rooms, turning on lights, water always hot. Like, real shit. Like the people, like these girls don't know. I came in for simple shit in over 8 years of my life and constantly here, giving him and dealing with all that shit. And I still walked away with a whole bunch of shit. He left me with a whole bunch of shit I didn't even know how to deal with. I put my whole life in his hands. Like everything I left for him to do. All I had to do was go make the money. And when at the end of it, like I said, I walked away with nothing but debt. And I didn't even know what the fuck the debt was. Now I'm into shit and they talk about credit score and I didn't know shit about none of that shit. Like, what are you talking about a credit score? I just want to buy a house or I just want to get a car. And there's certain shit that they never tell you about, especially when you're young. They're not going to tell you, listen, honestly, I feel like a real smart pimp would fucking invest in it. Like, honestly, to me, I feel like that's what they are. They're supposed to be like, they're like a bank without the building. You're supposed to just get the money and manage it and make sure that and they're just spending it because they know every day they got 2 or 3 bitches that's just gonna go out there and make it again. So like even right now, like slowly but surely over the times, you know, I've been paying what I can to lower each bill but man, to come thinking that you got a fresh start and you starting everything new and reality hits you like this motherfucker used my social for everything. And there's nothing you could do. You can't call the people and say, no, it wasn't me. You was with that person the whole time. Like, so a lot of these girls, they feel like they're doing the best and they're upgrading and you can't upgrade that unless you meet the motherfucker and when you met him, he didn't have a house. So how can he get you one? You know, when you met him, he didn't have a car. Hi. You know, without you, he can't get nothing. Without me, Daryl couldn't have got nothing and he got everything and he still didn't handle his responsibility. He still left me. So honestly, I feel like he got the last laugh in the end. I feel like he got the last laugh in the end. Ha, bitch, pay that without me. You didn't even know, ha. Even though I'm not away from him, I'm left with a bunch of shit that I still have to deal with because of him. And all I wanted was an apartment, a car, and some music. And even that, like he even took that. I had a record label and he went and got it in his fucking name. I gave him a whole imprint how I wanted it to go. And he turned around and took my dream and put it in his name. I didn't even know that till I got arrested. Like, we talking about record label. I'm like, who owned a record label? And then they broke it all down to me. And I'm like, he even took my record label. The name I came up with, the concept, everything was on paper with his name on it. So sometimes even your big thoughts and your big ideas, they'll take that shit and copyright that shit for themselves. And I say he took everything, but my God is bigger than him.
So Shay, we're drawing close to the end of our time. So I just wanted to see if there's anything else that you would like to say to everybody.
Just, I appreciate you guys even listening. Anne-Marie, you already know I love you. But like really, if this is something that y'all want to do, just really wholeheartedly take it serious. You know, it's gonna hurt sometimes. It's gonna be disappointing sometimes, you know, but just as long as if you're consistent, consistency will bring you great results, you know, and understand that you're dealing with a lot of broken, naive people. These are who you mess with. You're dealing with a lot of broken, naive people that, you know, they're comfortable right now. This is real shit. You got some girls out here that really believe that if a man is not beating on them, they don't love them. If a man is not out here treating them fucked up, that's normal to them. So anything else, like that's something I had to deal with when I came home. Like a man just wanting to give me a hug. Why you want to give me a hug? Or me sleeping with a man for nothing. What? I felt like the lowest thing on the planet, like sleeping with a man and then they couldn't pay a bill or something after it. Like, so understand this is a real mentally strong battle that y'all going through, and God got you, but you got you too, and you got them too, you know, because it's gonna be a long journey, and this is not overnight. Like I said, 6 years down the line, and I'm still fighting. You know, just give it your all. I got y'all back. If you need me, call me. I don't mind going out there, talking, and you know, being out there, or just. You gotta have a big heart to deal with this. And you gotta have a lot of patience, and you gotta understand that sometimes you might not get the right results the first time. Just be consistent. I was telling her, I remember I used to be a cop. You know, even when it comes to cops, I've had cops that tricked, like that would, oh, if you don't want to go to jail, suck my dick. You feel me? So you understand, it's all of that. Like it's all that. Even when it comes to law enforcement, they feel like they're safe. There's some cops out there that'll have you in the alleyway. If you want to go to jail, you want to suck my dick. And then if you suck it good, then they want to come be your regular too. You know, so, you know, so you just got to be persistent and have some patience. Because like I said, even when you do get out, it's still a battle. Like I've been going 6 years and it's still a mental for me. It's still a physical thing for me. Like I said, they have rehab for drugs. They maybe need a rehab for sex, like for prostitution, because I fight myself every day. You know, I want better, but I know other ways that can make it easier. And like I said, some girls out there that feel like if they don't feel that pain, then you don't love them, or you too good to be true. And a lot of times that too good to be true slaps us in the fucking face. Like I honestly say that. Sometimes that too good to be true slaps us in the face, and that's just a setback for us. We just gonna go back to what we used to. Thank God I haven't hit that. Maybe I'm more persistent and real determined on what I want better for myself. And you just gotta get girls to that point, you know, get them to that point where, listen, I know I want better. I know it's another way. I tell a lot of girls, I do know, girl, even though I'm not a hoe, I still take all of that game and all the stuff I learned when I was in them streets, and I put it into this square life. It actually works more easier, less to do, you know. But you know, you gotta just one step at a time, one promise at a time, you know, one at a time. Don't think to lather it up this is not Dove soap and think that you're gonna wash it off and be squeaky clean. No, it's a lot to deal with. And even though I could tell my story now, it was a time I couldn't, so it's a step, and you just gotta keep being consistent. That's all I can say. Just be consistent. Even like I said, it was a cop that used to see me and used to just give me coffee. Like, you ate today, you drank today, and I'm thinking he gonna come lock my ass up. But it took time for him to keep being nice to me and not doing what I'm expecting him to do for me to even want to talk to him. And he's like, just be safe. I just want to make sure that, nobody is, I can't help you, because real shit, it makes it worse, because prostitutes, we go to jail, we get out the next day. We're not doing no hard time for being outside. Like, we go out there, we walk the streets, we get caught, we out the next day. And it takes a few times of going in there and coming out one day for a judge to say, bitch, sit down for 2 weeks. So it's really no sit down like for a drug dealer or a murderer or a physical. For us, it's like, okay, we getting out the next day. So that was just one cop that was just like, yo, I know if I lock her up, she's gonna be right back out here tomorrow. But he was just more like, just be careful, watch out for this and watch out for that. And during the time, it was like, I bought him coffee. Oh, hi, beat you to it today, So just be consistent. That's all I can ask. I said, it's not going to be easy, but God, he put you in this position for a reason. Everybody's not meant to do or strong enough for this. So he makes no mistakes. I can say that.
So I just want to thank Shay for coming to talk today and for telling her story again. I never thought that somebody I would have arrested would become a dear, dear friend of mine. I think when I arrested Shay, she was like, challenge accepted. And the next time I saw her, she had completely changed her life around. And she is such an amazing person and is doing wonderful things in her life. And we are happy to report that her pimp 17 years in federal jail. So that was a good ending to that story all the way around.
I wish we could bill his ass in there too.
That's right.
Give
So,
him them damn bills.
That's right. So with that, we are going to turn it over to Courtney Litowitz, who is our victim specialist. And she is going to talk a little bit, I think, about sort of these cases.
Hi, good evening. As Wendy said, I'm Courtney Litowitz, the victim specialist here in New Haven for the FBI. My responsibility is to work with victims of all federal crime. So everything from mass casualties, bank robberies, child exploitation, and human trafficking. Adults and minors, I work really closely with Wendy. The call comes in, Wendy is a full-time job in and of herself. And I always think back many years ago when I started this job, my niece was 6 years old and said, Auntie Cece, I want to take you to school as my favorite person. They want us to bring our favorite person to school. And I was so excited to be somebody's favorite person that I completely ignored whatever it had to do I was supposed to do and show up. So I show up, I pick her up, so excited. We show up and there's a firefighter there and a chef and everybody's talking about their jobs. And I was like, oh, crud. This kid even know what I do. And like, how do I explain what I do to her? So I'm like whispering to her. She's like, I got it. And I'm like, okay. So Juju gets up there and she's like, this is my Auntie Cece. She has the best job ever. Her job is to be nice to people and answer the phone all the time. And when I thought about it, I think about that 17 years later in this job, it's fairly accurate, right? So I am nice to people, I like to think. My job is to help people, which is a pretty amazing job to have. And I think Shay pointed out really importantly, the consistency of answering your phone and being available to people when they need you, and not just between the hours of like 9 and 4 or, not during Christmas or Thanksgiving, but to basically be able to answer my phone, because sometimes it isn't even so much that somebody's asking for anything or needs anything, but they just need to know, they just need to know that somebody is actually going to answer the phone when they call, right? And so that's a big part of what I do is, Wendy will come to me with a case and with a survivor and say, all right, Courtney, we're rolling out. I know it's never good when my phone rings from Wendy at, midnight. And she knows to call and not just text, because I'll answer the phone call. And she'll say, oh, I got a doozy. And of course, it's usually in some foreign nook of the state that takes, no matter where, an hour and a half for me to get there. I didn't even think Connecticut was that big. So we'll roll out and, there are obstacles when you're going out at that time or at any time. And the federal government, we roll up and we have lots of red tape, right? So, I want to meet some basic needs. Somebody needs a bottle of water, a cup of coffee, some food, some clothing, just literally a blanket in that moment. And so we've been really fortunate to partner with Citizens Academy, the Underground, Love 146. To really try to fill some of those like immediate physiological like needs. Like, okay, I can at least show up because, like Shay said, to piggyback off of that, a lot of time it's a giant like, yeah, F you, lady. You know what I mean? Like you're showing up, like whatever. What can you
That's
do for
today.
me?
What
Right.
about tomorrow?
What about tomorrow? What about the next day? And that's great. You can hand me a bottle of water now, but like, and you can put me, someplace temporarily for a day or two, but where are you going to be in an hour from now? And frankly, I'm not going to go into some shelter or someplace with you right now because he's got my kid and I'm not about to leave with my kid. But if you answer your phone at 3 a.m. a week from Tuesday, and I'm like, meet me at the corner now because I got my kid and I can get away, what can you do for me then? So I spent 14 years in the Boston division, a very large division, big field office. And then I transferred here about 4 or 5 years ago. And I've been here. And I will say that this is a smaller state and the organizations are all like working together to try to combat some of these issues. And I've had the good fortune to talk to Shay and other survivors and be able to say, where are we falling apart? Like, I know we're failing on certain fronts. And so, I could sit here and pretend like, well, I think there's a gap here or there's a gap there, but I'm not the one that's in the situation. So I think I've really been fortunate to work with a lot of the organizations and a lot of survivors and say, what do you need from us, right? As a community, how can we support so that you can gain the trust? And so that we're not just another person who's making some sort of false promise, or that we don't come on the scene and say, give the impression that we're only going to help if you help us with a case. Like, how can we push things over the goal line so that long term we build that trust? And so much of it goes back to what my niece said many years ago, what Shay has continued to say years later is, you need to answer the phone and you need to be honest. And I need to be able to say, hey, I don't have that service right now, but I'm going to reach out and hit the network of people who do. And I'm a lot of times penned in by federal funding and, grants are only for certain things and we're limited on what we can do. But I know that there are other organizations I can reach out to, and the network kind of like spider webs itself out. And I will be honest with the survivors and our victims and say, I don't have that right now. But now that you've told me that's a need, I'll look into it.
Make a priority.
Right. Like, and it's a constantly evolving, ever-changing thing. I had a, survivor recently come to me and say, I need a wig because he destroyed my wig as a way to degrade me. And that is not exactly a resource you have in your back pocket for everybody. And it is important, and it's important to somebody's identity and to help them regain themselves. But I don't have that in my back pocket. So I reached out not only to like our network, but further out and was able to come through with that. It took me 2 days. But when I came through, she looked at me like, are you got it? Like, you're actually doing it. And I was like, yes. And we're going to get like a one that you measure for. Like, it was like a real, and she was like, holy moly. And I said, listen, I didn't know I was going to be able to get it, but I'll certainly try. And that's really what my job is like jack of all trades. I'm not doing anything alone because we are, the federal government is extraordinarily limited on what we can do for people. I can certainly be nice. I can answer my phone. I can be supportive, and I can know all the resources that are out there. And I can continue to build those relationships, and we can kind of work together so that the NGOs, the state agencies also feel comfortable calling me and saying, hey, we don't have somebody who's necessarily willing to come forward and discuss it yet, but somebody's come to our organization. would you be able to explain what you guys can do to hopefully make somebody feel comfortable with law enforcement? And we work really hard to kind of continue those relationships. And it's been a really kind of special and nice thing, I would say, over the last 4 years that I've experienced here in Connecticut, that so many of the organizations are willing to like just jump in and really try to help. And like, you know, when I met Shay and she had come out of jail and was like, I have these bills, I don't know what to do. And I was like, I don't know what to do with a $3,000 electric bill either. But like, you know, again, Anne Marie, like people stepped up and said, well, we'll figure it out. Like we'll figure it out, right? How are we gonna get housing? And so I think that we're in a really good spot at trying to meet some of those needs. What I think has hit really hard during COVID right now, and in general, because so many people are stretched so thin, but I think COVID has particularly made this difficult, is a lot of agencies, you know, Siri, Bloom Initiative out of Salvation Army, Anne Marie, there's a housing program now that is stunning. There are so many things that are coming forward with those needs. And because COVID has kind of shut down so much, it's really allowed organizations where I can call and say, I have a survivor who needs a bed, right? And in the past, we might be scrambling around to find a bed. And they say, well, actually, we have the funds because COVID has kind of restricted other things we're doing, so we can get them a bed. So that's great. So like those needs and stuff.
Oh my God.
You okay?
Yeah.
So those needs are being met, which has been, it's like almost like I'm seeing more of that. People are just absolutely willing to kind of open up the checkbook, and they have this funding that they're able to tap into. But I think what we hit on that's been hard is that social connection aspect of people. You know, they're limited in the FaceTime meetings of people. They're limited in the face-to-face one-on-one support. So you don't have as many of the social workers going out. You don't have as many people being able to, you know, meet with a survivor and say, let's go grab a cup of coffee. You know, we're so limited in those in-person, one-on-one kind of interactions that are so important to people to have that sense of like social aspect and community. And while we're able to kind of connect on Zoom and those types of calls, a lot of our survivors are limited in, you know, internet capabilities or Wi-Fi, and maybe they have a phone and normally they would, you know, hook into the Starbucks Wi-Fi or the Panera, and we're not able to go to those places anymore. So it's just really a cascading effect of, you know, limiting that social aspect and that sense of community that I'm finding people really, as Shay has mentioned, hook into the community and social aspect of it. And so I think the phone calls and everybody's really trying to work really hard on that, but that has kind of been the one kind of, you know, difficulty that COVID, I feel, has really brought to the forefront, is how limited that capability is for this kind of work. But overall, I mean, I cannot say enough about how open all the organizations have been about trying to, you know, say, what do you guys need? You know what I mean? And like, how can we make it happen? And because so much of the trafficking is over state lines, we work with so many other divisions. I work with Boston, New York, New Jersey. We're kind of on that corridor. And so I have found that, you know, survivors that are taken from New York come to Connecticut and want to try to rebuild here, or, you know, it's not safe for somebody to remain here in Connecticut, but they don't want to be so far away from their family or from, you know, whatever tether that's a positive tether here. So we've been able to work with organizations to move people over the border or to kind of push them, you know, just over the border. And likewise, I found that the organizations here are very understanding that if somebody, it's not safe for them to remain in Massachusetts, they've been very understanding in having clients come. It's just the kind of the nature of the beast. And I think that it's been just a nice thing to see that kind of cohesiveness and everybody willing to work together carries on. You know, with that said, there are never ending, you know, gaps in services, to include, you know, housing. You know what I mean? Housing is really difficult. and Section 8 is very limited getting jobs. I would love to see opportunities for like internships at some of our larger organizations that we have. We're very fortunate to have some big industry in the state. And I think it would be really advantageous if we could kind of get some of our clients as interns in there and explain to those companies, hey, can we have somebody who, if somebody flies off the handle, right, and says, screw this, sorry, I was 10 minutes late, blah, blah, blah. Instead of just getting rid of them or writing them off as a bad employee, you kind of understand where that intern or where that person is coming from and give them a little bit of a break, because it's a learning skill. Right? It's a skill to learn how to react appropriately at that work. And that when somebody says, hey, you got to be here on time, they're not writing you off. You're not going to get abused for that. You can say, I'm really sorry about that, and I will do better to improve it. And somebody's not going to write you off forever. And I think the more we can build that professionally and personally, the better suited we are to really help, like, get back into society and you know what I mean, and have a really prosperous and advantageous life. So, I'm happy to answer any questions about what I do. I will say one thing that I learned in my 17 plus years at the FBI is that once they give you a cell phone, they don't let you change your number. So I have my same Boston cell phone number that I have had since the day I started. And when I moved here, I was like, okay, am I going to be getting a new cell phone? Because I was, I work with all victims of federal crime, and my phone number is on my business card because basically I'm out on the road all the time working with victims and with agents and all kind of stuff. So I'd rather have somebody call me than wait on my desk phone, because who knows what I'm going to get back for that. So I moved. I had been the victim specialist for the Boston Marathon bombing. And so I had a lot of phone calls, and a lot of people had my cell phone number, and that trial had been completed and was resolved by the time that I moved here. So I was like, all right, does this mean I'm going to get a new cell phone because I got replaced by somebody in Boston? They said no. And at the time I was kind of frustrated by it, but I will say it's a blessing in disguise because it goes back again to what my niece said about me answering my phone. So my first human trafficking survivor was a young woman, probably 15 years ago, who showed up in Providence, just horrifically exploited. And in the end, we spent years kind of prosecuting her pimp and also getting her. She wanted to go into the military and ultimately move out of the area. And she's been amazing. Okay. And I mean, she had her pimp would scar them across the face with a knife so that everybody would see, could see right on them who owned her, was what he would tell them. And so we were able to get plastic surgery for her, and we were able to ultimately move her to her dream location. And she was thrilled, and I would hear from her every once in a while. But that was many years ago, until last year. She calls my cell phone and she says, oh my gosh, Courtney, you still have the same number. I can't believe it. And you answered on a Saturday. And I was like, of course, that's what I do, right? It's what we do, Emery, right? So like I answered, I go, what's up, And she says, well, I'm doing really good. And I said, that's great. It's been a long time and I'm proud of you. That's awesome. And she's like, I'm dating a guy. We've been dating for a really long time. And I think this guy, he's like got potential. He's a good guy, I'm like, I'm almost 30. And I was like, okay, great. She's graduated college. She's got a career. She goes, and he's the first guy I trust to tell him about my life. So she's like, and I don't know how to do it. And so she's like, the only person I thought to call would be you, because you'd be able to help me come up with the language to explain it so that he doesn't run for the hills. And I thought, thank God I didn't change my phone number, right? Because I can refer her to the right people to help her out where she is. I can help her, support her on that. But God, what a bummer if my phone number had been changed and she had tried to call and got somebody else who had no clue, or they just got rid of that phone number altogether, because we spent 15 minutes talking. She felt really good and confident. She was linked in where she was. And I heard back from her from a couple weeks later, and she was like, he didn't run for the hills. And it was like a true, genuine success story that is just the constant reminder to me that even when I'm like, oh, it's Sunday, my phone is ringing, that it is worthwhile, it is important. And I couldn't do it without a million other people backing me up. And sometimes I feel bad because I get a ton of accolades and appreciation from clients and service providers and everybody else saying, I don't know how you do it, it's so great. But at the end of the day, it's the team that puts it all together. And what I get back is so much greater than what I give. And it's truly an honor to be able to help and serve victims. And I really do believe that. And it's also just such a community of service providers that it's such like an important part of feeling part of this group who just wants to do good. And when you see so much politicking and negative and this and that and everything else in the world, and people are often seeing glasses as half empty or whatever it may be, it's just really nice to know that this community of help exists and that I'm fortunate enough to be part of it. So I thank everybody for that.
Steve, Courtney, my name is Charlie Grady. I'm the public affairs specialist for the FBI here in New Haven for the state of Connecticut. And before we turn it back over to Steve and Courtney for any questions that the panel may have for Courtney, I just wanted to say that 36 years in law enforcement, Courtney Litowitz and Wendy Bowersox are the absolute best in the field at what they do, barring none. One of the things that I wanted to point out was that Courtney talks a few examples of some of the services that she does, but the most important thing that she provides is the stability and the consistency. And in watching their work and having worked with them and listened to them with what they do, I can tell you that Connecticut is so well served by Courtney Litowitz and Wendy Bowersox. One of the things I wanted to really touch on before we open it up all the way, Steve, was Courtney, if you could just give us, you and Shay, just give us a little indication of the real differences between what we see in Hollywood as human trafficking versus Shay's story, the real story that goes on. And is there a disparity between suburbs and inner city? And what does that look like? If you can share a little bit with that, because you both have been exposed to both of that. So just give us a few minutes on that before I turn it back over to Steve.
How it's not as glamorous.
Far from it.
Yeah.
Like I said, you watch these movies and you see these TV shows and you think that, we walking around, we jumping out in and out of Cadillacs and we got mink coats and we got all these nice things. And in reality, these guys are taking us shopping at Rainbows, and, the most we're wearing is probably some lingerie and the shortest thing you could find. And, we're out there in the cold. Like, I remember being out there with nothing on in a snow blizzard.
And it could be girls from the suburbs, the
And
cities.
it don't matter where you're from. It don't matter where you're from, because you got some women out here that had it all, spoiled, parents that love them, and they yearn for you. Just I think it's just people yearning for something that they don't have, and it's the curiosity of, even though I have it all, I want to know what that feels like. Like, I want to know what that is. You got the poor people, the poor girls that, I want to be rich, I want to be able to have the fur, and then you have the rich girls that I have it all, like, and they meet these other people that don't have it all, and they feel like they're much more happier with not having nothing. Do I make sense what I'm saying? You have some people that have it all and they feel like there are people that don't have nothing that are more happy than them. And then you have people that don't have shit and they feel like they'll be happier if they, they're not understanding. And that's a big clodge with girls too, girl. Like, bitch, why are you even here? Like, your mother and your father, you go run home to mommy and daddy. And then it's like, bitch, like, if I could, I don't want to, because I want to feel this pain, and I'm more happier here. Some people is that, so it doesn't matter where you're from. It's about.
The reason I wanted that clarification is, again, we all get stuck with a Hollywood depiction of what human trafficking is. And it's always someone rolling in a parking lot and grabbing a girl and putting her in the back of a van and bringing her 3 states away and keeping her captive and the whole bit. And your story is more in line with what really happens in every.
But you even have scenarios where a guy will send girls out, and you know, and then the girl will meet the girl, be like, oh, listen, we're going to a party, and they'll go to the party Friday, and he'll send the girl home, and then you know the girl will meet up with the girl the next day. Oh, we about to have another party. She had so much fun the night before. Yeah, she gone, and then they send her Saturday. She have a blast. They bring her home, but that Sunday when she come back out and party, by the time she wakes up from being so blasted, they got her somewhere where she don't know, so can't call nobody, no, nothing.
Right.
You know, it's not, people are not as friendly as you would think in this world, that you would think that you would go to somebody and be like, listen, you kidnapped me. You know, like, and can you help me get there? And you got people that judge, and there's a lot that really is fucked up, but people are not helping you. Like that what they say on TV with girls, well, no, get in the car. Like, no, none of that has happened.
You feel like you're in so deep, you don't know people, and now
You don't know who to trust. You don't know who this person knows because they brought you to this strange place. You don't know who this person knows, the way they talk and the way they carry themselves. You would think that everybody, they know everybody. You don't, you know, like I said, you got some people that are tricks and they caught up in this world that they're not gonna help you. Like, especially if you dated them and they like the time they had with you, why would they want to send you back so they can never see you again? So like I said, it comes more for it's more than just the pimp side, and you got to deal with the tricks. Come with a whole lot of shit too to deal with, and it's no glamour. Like I said, the most glamour is being high through all of this.
And Courtney, you and I and Wendy have had many discussions about some of the other scenarios where you guys have a huge challenge trying to make people understand that they've been abused and that they have been victims of
them, and you know what I mean, and that they are actually a victim on our case. And like, I'm not a victim of anything. Like, people hate that word, and I like to use the word survivor. But at the same time, somebody is often victimizing these young people and these women and taking advantage of them.
You see how I start my before I even tell my details of how I got me writing that letter to my abuse. You feel me? It breaks down the abuse I've been going through since I was 60 years old. That it got to a point that it was just like, instead of me being surprised, I went looking for it. I knew what to expect of it. I knew what came with it, and I embraced it because it's been happening to me my whole life and when I wasn't looking for it. And it was never that stranger that hopped out of the dark alleyway. It was always somebody that you trust and you loved and you thought could never do nothing like that to you. You know, and then you would think that your family that you are around, you would think that, you know, they would notice that you got a little quieter and that you know, you don't want nobody to touch you, and then nobody noticed it. And it goes from being a kid and going through that, and then you going into a teenage stage where that is a whole nother ball game. And nobody still doesn't notice. Now the people noticing when you're being rebellion, not when you were scared, not when they should have noticed. By the time people do notice, it's too late. And you feel like nobody cares. So of course a stranger come along and then they make you feel like anything come out your mouth is important before they get control of you. Of course that's what you're gonna grasp. Because that's something they'll throw at you every chance they get. Remember when you told me that you wanted to yeah, we could still do that. A stranger told them that before the people they thought they were supposed to be safest with told them that.
And then, you know, Wendy and I can come along and say, oh no, you know, we're here to support you and assist you, but we're the fear of the unknown. Like, yeah, you say you're going to put you can help put a roof over my head, but for how long? And like, at least in this known scenario, it's going to suck and it's going to hurt and I'm not thrilled about it. But at least I know at the end of the day, like, my kid is still here with me. My roof is still over my head. I don't know you. I don't trust you. So it's the fear of the unknown, which makes total sense. You know what I mean? You've been conditioned so long in this one scenario, as Shay so like beautifully puts out in her letter, that this is what you know. And so why would you trust something you don't?
So again, I want to thank you for that clarification. And it sounds to me, Steve, like there's so much meat on the bone to unpack tomorrow. So I'll turn it over to you, and you know, you could take it from here. I just wanted to insert that in there because I think it's important for some people to understand at home or wherever they're viewing from that this issue is way more complex and not as simplified as Hollywood might have you to believe. Steve?
Thank you so much, Charlie. You know, before we close, I do want to open up the opportunity for State Representative Robin Porter to say a few words. But I want to say before then that, you know, whether it's the work of the department, Wendy's work, Courtney's work, the work of the Bureau, and the work of Anne Marie and Shay, your work, it is absolutely clear to me that you are agents of grace. And you're agents of grace because it is also absolutely clear to me from the work that you are all doing now together that you are saving lives. So this is an important conversation, because if one person can hear this and find that ability to take one more step, just that one more step, with someone who reaches their hand out to them earnestly and with grace, then it is life-saving work. So I wanted to thank you before we close. Representative Robin Porter, I know you've been here with us the entire time and you've been listening. I wonder if you have a couple of words that you would like to say before we close our program, the first of a two-part series.
First thing I want to say is, Shay, wow, I learned a lot tonight. Kind of can relate to that whole Hollywood and versus the real street thing. And don't get me wrong, born and raised in New York, know all about the Bronx, the boogie down, Queens, Manhattan, this lifestyle. But what you shared this evening has been tremendously impactful, especially for the work that we are collaboratively working on. And I just want to say, oh, my heart is so full. I mean, it wasn't easy to listen to. I can't even sit here and pretend that it was easy. There were times when I actually went off camera because I did have to drop a few tears, because that's how it touches me. And you said so much tonight that has resonated with me. Anne Marie, Courtney, special agents, Dave, and Charlie, and everybody else at the FBI that is doing this work. I want to say thank you to you all. You're right, Steve. Not only are they agents of grace, they are agents of grace and mercy. Shay, you said it best. You have to have patience and you have to have a heart to deal with this. And listening to you tell your story, I just sat here and it was something Courtney said, that, you know, Anne Marie, we answer the phone, right? And it's kind of like the work I do, you know, and not to say that, well, some of it does touch on things like this. Some of it's good and some of it's bad and some of it's really good and some of it's really bad. So I can relate in that way. But I'm just really excited to have what I call real life experience. The people closest to the problems are closest to the solutions. And what we aim to do in this work is to really figure out, Shay, how do we change this game? How do we keep this from happening? And when people do have a tendency to fall into this lifestyle, how do we recover them quickly, right? We don't want it to take 7 or 8 years for someone to be able to come up out of this. We want to be able to build the trust and bridge the gaps. And you're helping to do that in a way that is priceless. I want to thank you for your intestinal fortitude. I want to thank you for your strength. And I believe in God that you will be moving in a spirit of vulnerability, and you will be able to share with your children everything that you feel you need to share, and even if it's nothing but simply being able to shed a tear. You've earned that, you deserve that, and I just want you to know, I just met you, and I have so much love in my heart for you, for what you stand for, what you have been able to overcome. God has great things in store for you. And I think it was Anne Marie that said, sit still. She told you to sit still. And when you said that, the first thing that came to me was, peace be still and know that I am God. And what I am finding from your testimony tonight is you know exactly who God is and you know what he's capable of. You're living proof of that. And we don't get to have a testimony without a test. So thank you for passing your test and for being able to reach back and share this experience so that you can equip us with what we need to go back in those trenches and get the other shade. So thank you. I could go on, but I really want to salute you and pay tribute to you tonight and just thank you so much for what you've been able to share. And I just want to wish you all the best and just peace and blessings to you, Queen. You got this. You're going to be all right. It is going to be okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you so much, Representative Porter. And thank you all again for laying the foundation today in this difficult but critically important and life-saving discussion about the experiences that women, girls, and people in the state and across the country are being subjected to through exploitation and through the corruption of human trafficking. Tomorrow, in part 2 of our series, we will be discussing the network, the folks who are coming together with survivors and others to really bridge that gap between slavery and liberation. So I'm just so excited to be able to continue this conversation and the second part of our series. And I look forward to continuing to work with you to rip out the scourge of human trafficking that is all around us, to your point, in the places that you would never even imagine. So thank you all so much, and I look forward to part 2. Have a good evening.